Hello and welcome to the Bary Clower Show. It's also known as Bar YU Live, maybe. It's a chance for us to do something twice a month. We do it the first and third Saturday of every month, and it's a chance for us to talk to Bary Clower himself in the midst of his very, very busy day. For those of you who may not know, Bary Clower he's the star of this thing called Bary University. B-A-R-Y, that's how you spell Bary, but that's also a brand, the Bary. And a university is a place of learning, a place of schooling. And I've been one of his students for a few months now. He's teaching me all the ins and outs of being a real ranch hand cowboy. And it's been awesome. So you can also find Bary at BaryClower.com and TexasBigStar.tv. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, he's on the phone with us, Professor Bary Clower. How are you, Bary?
Man, outstanding. How are you doing, Brian?
I'm doing well. I've gotten over that little illness I had, and I feel so much better.
I tell you what, that'll make you feel human pretty quick, won't it?
Oh, I was in bed for 4 days. And
I know.
Then it took another week to get over that.
I wasn't at that show.
I literally couldn't stand up. But enough of that. Talking about standing.
Yes.
I know you're in a truck right now, being out of the wind, so you can be with us on the phone. But tell us where you're at today and what you're doing.
Well, I've been up on top of a mountain and gathered some cattle so we could get some calves for a branding event in the ranch rodeo this evening. And then we're going over to get a load of steers to use in another event. And so it's when you put on a ranch rodeo and say, hey, we're going to start at 6 o'clock tonight, there's about 16 hours of work before 6 o'clock hits that has to be done that nobody ever sees. And most people don't appreciate unless they've had to put a ranch rodeo on. So we're pretty busy this morning, but I had a chance to give you a call. Hated we missed the intro, I guess, or big debut, but I was sick, much like you were, and I kind of chuckled just a little bit in between coughs that day when you said it was the tree pollen. I had just a little more than tree pollen that day, and
well,
I know you got some of the
As it turns out, I had a little more than tree pollen, too. I had tree pollen allergies and some sort of flu-type bug that it waylaid me, man.
Yeah. Been getting us this year. 16 degrees one day, and then it's 65, and then it's 83, and and that's what we're dealing with right now. With these rodeos and our work that we normally do, the weather's just really been a blessing, and it's also been a messing. So it's up. So anyway, it's all good.
I can imagine that the weather takes a toll on the livestock, doesn't it?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. It really does.
Like it's going to be,
anytime that it's
82,
20 or 30 degrees different.
You were saying, the 20 or 30 degree temperature swings can have an effect on the livestock.
Oh, yes, sir. It makes us sick. And then, of course, the cattle are out there, and they get climatized to one weather, and then here they go to the next. So it's pretty tough on them, but, it all comes from God, and we all give it back to Him pretty quick. So it's a blessing to be able to take care of them.
Bary, you're at the first annual Sloan Taliaferro Rodeo in Brazos, Texas. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Sloan, just a little bit on him. He's best friends with my son and several other sons and around Santo, but all the way from Bear School, about 4 years old till they were 16. They were inseparable. They were just good old country kids and worked hard and just loved life. And Sloan had an accident with a truck rolled, fell down on top of him while he was working on it, and it was his time to go on and be with his Lord and Savior. And it was tough on the community. We fought through it. Had a good response. It really, out of tragedy like that, you think, how can something come from that? But his parents, Brandon and Christy, are just super, super troopers, and they just kind of trusted the Lord and the community to help them get through this loss. And we've kept the spirit alive. And one thing that Sloan and my son always said they wanted to do was have a benefit, for their senior class. Senior classes always get together to do something, a skeet shoot or whatever the kids are kind of into. And this particular group, they wanted to do a rodeo. Well, when Sloan passed, we thought at first, well, that would never happen, but in honor of him, and we just act like he's here, just go right on. The show must go on, and that's what started this. Of course, we're benefiting our senior class this year to give them a little head start, a little money and stuff when they graduate, and we have an all-night deal to keep them kind of locked in, to know where they're at,
sure,
and not have a chance of being out on the road and getting run over, and because kids are going to be kids, and we just was going to give them a controlled environment to be in their first night out of school, and then a bunch of this money's going to a Sloan Taliaferro scholarship, and to help kids that normally wouldn't be able to go to college that want to. And so it's
great.
It's a blessing all around, and we're just super excited about the community pulling together and having this.
That's great, Bary. So that sounds like a lot of fun, but something that's going to have an impact and some eternal value to it too.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's great. I'm looking at your schedule here, man. Next week you're going to be in Tyler, Texas for another ranch rodeo.
We were at Houston last weekend, and the reason I brought that up is that's kind of the start of the rodeo season,
right,
the 1st of March.
It usually is. And
we'll usually have some type of rodeo that we are either putting on or possibly in the middle of every weekend, pretty much throughout from now till probably about November.
I was looking at your schedule on BaryClower.com. Man, that's crazy. That's just... So this summer season, the spring and into the summer, I guess that's what you're doing most every weekend, isn't it?
Yes, sir. We ranch all week, take care of our cattle. I've got a few places that I take care of on a regular basis, and then a few that I'm partners with on our own, and then just contract labor, get phone calls through the week. And then on the weekends, we leave out usually on Friday, and sometimes there's church services on that Sunday that we help with, or just definitely get fed from, and then have rodeos. We'll have sometimes 2, sometimes 3 a weekend, but most of the time just 1. But sometimes we have a Friday and Saturday, and then have a Sunday matinee type deal. But it's sad, but it's kind of funny that you can make more money sitting on a horse talking about cowboying than you can actually cowboying. So it's pretty interesting, Brian, how it can be. Sometimes.
There's so many parallels I can draw from that in life in general. So speaking of, you said you get these calls during the week, and I've been there when you've gotten those calls. When we were doing the shooting for the Bary television show, and we're going to talk a little more about that. Actually,
what we went and done was because we got called.
That's right.
Nothing was staged. I mean, we had a guy needed a water gap fixed. We had a guy needed hay unloaded. We had a guy needed a horse doctored. So, I mean, that's the neat part of the simplicity, I guess, of this whole deal.
Yeah.
Of the BYU is of course it's a fake university, but it's real life changing stuff.
It was real to me. I don't know how fake it is. It was real to me. You were talking about some of the episodes of BYU. That hay stacking one was pretty informative.
Yeah.
In fact, there was one of our regulars, Todd, was on the show on the Texas Big Star Live show last week, and we were talking about BYU and what it is. And I'm pretty sure he knew who you were and was familiar with who you were. And
I'm familiar with Todd. I met him several years ago. I haven't seen him in a while.
Great guy. We were talking about how one of the episodes is about stacking hay, and his eyes lit up and go, yeah, that's actually very important to know how to properly stack hay. And he said when he was a kid, he'd worked for hours, and they started stacking these bales of hay, and they just on the back of the trailer, and they just split right down the middle and both fell off either side of the trailer.
Yep.
And because he had never, no one had ever taught him, hey, there's actually an art to it. It's almost like being in masonry. It's like laying bricks. You have to. And the reason I know that
sir.
is because of what you taught me.
And key to that, Brian. The only thing worse than stacking hay is having to stack the same hay twice. And so you learn from your mistakes, and we did.
That's exactly what we told him. We gave him some Clower power advice, and Matt, I think Matt quoted you. He said that very same thing, and Todd agreed. He said that is exactly right. That is words of wisdom. You don't want to stack hay twice.
Yes,
you don't want to stack hay at all, but you really don't want to stack it twice.
That's right.
Speaking of other episodes, what I recall one of the episodes that we did. I don't think it's aired yet, but maybe it's about to. Is there? Remember when you made me climb that windmill? You remember that?
Yeah. Well, yeah. We was working on the windmill.
You might have slipped your memory a little bit because you were down there on the ground where everything's nice and peaceful. I was up on a 120-year-old windmill hanging on to an old piece of oak that was breaking off in my hand. Remember that?
Yes, I remember that. So really surprised that you lived through the day. But
I was okay.
And that was probably one of the safer things. That was one of the safer things we did that day.
Yes, yeah. Between that and the hay and the water gap and feeding cattle with a big bag of feed and running from 1.5 tons livestock. Yeah. Well, I was okay. I was okay with climbing that windmill. It's just once I got up there, literally pieces of wood are coming off in my hand. That's when I decided to ask you, "Hey, how old is this windmill?"
Yes, it was. It had been didn't need to be climbed anymore. It needed to be fixed.
Yeah. Well, it held me. I think that episode's coming up, and I make sure and want to check that one out. Bary, there's. I know you're a busy guy. We have some questions that have been sent in from some viewers at Bary University.
I have a lot of answers. It may not be the answers to those questions, but we'll just see where they fit.
I have no doubt. Here's question 1. It says, Bary has caught some wild cattle for me in the past. I think Bary's approach to catching wild cattle would be interesting to hear. So can you, Bary, in a nutshell, tell us your approach to catching wild cattle?
Okay. And a lot of people are a little bit, I think, confused. True wild cattle, usually when they see you, they will feral wild cattle. They'll come to you. They're protecting their land. They'll come and fight you. They'll chase you off. Smart cattle that have been tried to be tricked, they will leave. And people say, "Oh, those are wild cattle." Well, most of those cattle that leave, they either had an ear tag or a brand or something like that. So to kind of clarify, but usually I will try my best to feed them, and become friends with them if I have the time. Otherwise, I have to use my dogs, and I have some dogs and black-mouthed cur and Catahoula type dogs, crossbred, and for the most part, and they will go when I turn them loose in the area or within the place that I'm supposed to be able to. The cattle are supposed to be. They will go find them and circle them up and bark until I get there, so I can hear where they're at. When I get there, I can tell them to come to me or get back or get out or let them walk, and then I can walk the cattle to where I need to go. That's one approach. I have a dart gun, and I have had to tranquilize cattle before, to where when you find them, sometimes they'll come right up to the feed, even come into the pens, but then you can't do nothing with them without them tearing the facilities down. And I'll tranquilize them, and when they get sleepy, we can handle them that way. So, and it's usually a 1 or 2 person kind of deal, and you just kind of sneak around, stay quiet, easy, and kind of knowing when to move and when not to move. Movement is what moves cattle. Noise, hollering and that type of stuff, that's just for the humans. That just stirs them up, makes them worse than what they were. So, but kind of like I say a lot of times, I'm not hollering at you kids. I'm just talking loud so you can hear me. Right. But that's the way those cattle. And I noticed the cattle with bigger ears, you don't have to be near as loud. You need to be a little more sensitive to them. So that's the ones with the bramer in them, and a lot of times. And I love those type of cattle. Got quite a few of them, but just the quieter and easier you can handle them and sneak around. and usually finding out what the individual has done in the past to create the problem with the cattle.
Exactly.
Whether they won't come in the pen or they jump out, and then do just the exact opposite. That's the key, I think. Insanity to me is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results.
Right.
Because you just keep getting the same results when you do the same thing. So
Right.
we're not the best at it, but we are narrowed down to some of the last few right in our area that do this for a living, and so they sometimes have to call you when they don't want to.
Yeah, I know the first time I met you, you'd received a call from the sheriff's, or either that or the highway patrol, that there was a, what was it, a longhorn loose, and it was about to go on the interstate?
Yep. Cattle was out, yes, sir. And,
we'll save that story for the next show. I want folks to hear that one, because that was my first experience with Bary Clower. I was sitting there going, "You did what today?"
Yeah.
So we'll save that one for next week, and let's move on to this next question.
Great.
Here's,
yes, sir.
I believe this is from Deanna. She says, "What was Adam doing while Eve was out getting something to eat? And if he, meaning Adam, had been with her helping or just got it himself, don't you think we would be better off?"
Yes, I'm gonna have to reach out there and say yes.
Yes.
I know Adam. You know, I mean, it's just like husband and wives nowadays. You know, just sometimes if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. And I know not too long after that reminds me of a story that I'd heard that Adam and Cain and Abel, they were walking along outside of the garden and saw the Garden of Eden over there. And the boys looked up at Adam and said, "Dad, man, that's a beautiful place over there. What is that?" He said, "That's Eden. That's the Garden of Eden." He said, "Does anybody live there?" And he said, "Well, we used to until your mother ate us out of house and home." So you just never know. I think it's all in God's plan that it worked out like it did, and so we
that's true.
We just have to. Yes, sir. So
that's good, Bary.
But all right.
Well, hey, Bary, I know that you are busy, and I know you have a lot of stuff to do today, and we wish you all the best in today's ranch rodeo that you're being involved in. And thank you for being, on your live show. Thanks for being on your show.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a blessing to work with you guys, Matt and his crew, everybody involved, and man, we, like I say, we don't have, kind of like my pickup, I don't know how long it's going to last, and most of the time I don't know where it's going, but it is a great ride being with y'all. So I appreciate it.
We love having you on any kind of show, and we thank you for being a part of it. So have a great day, and God bless you, and be careful out there, Bary.
Well, Brian, one quick tip for the day for you.
Oh, yeah. What is the Bary Clower tip of the day? I almost forgot.
I'm just, since this is my first time to be on live with you, I mean, we've all been considered an ass at one time or another. And so I say this with respect. If you're going to be one, be a smart one, not a dumb one. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you, Bary.
You bet.
And there you have it, folks. The tip of the day from Professor Bary Clower. And remember that you can catch Bary at every episode of Bar YU at baryclower.com and also texasbigstar.tv. And of course, look for the Bar Y University Facebook page. I'm Brian B Barrett, and join us in 2 weeks for another episode of Bary Clower Show. Thank you so much